financial advisor and wealth management firm for the past years. You can find more information at shawassociatesinc.com or 530-674-1150. Shaw & Associates is proud to support community radio.
And I'd like to welcome into the studio Undersheriff Nick Morawcznski. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, John. How are you?
I'm just swinging for the bleachers, man. Also, Wendell Anderson, Sheriff of Yuba County. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning.
Hey, speaking of swinging for the bleachers, you mentioned something off air that's kind of cool coming up this weekend. It kind of signals life quasi-returning to normal. Tell me, what's going on?
Well, yeah, I had mentioned to you that I was going to North Yuba Little League to throw out the first pitch. Pretty exciting. Having all those kids back together and, opening ceremony for Little League, I can't think of a better way to spend my Saturday morning. So
Exactly, and as I know this doesn't mean that, but they're staying out of trouble when they're doing stuff like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree, totally agree. And of course, I think the first time I met you was when the Olivehurst Little League was going to the World Series, or they were so close a while back, and they had a parade and all that.
Right.
Yeah, he showed up for that. That was so cool, Nick. That was right after you took office, I do believe.
It was shortly after that, and I had that's why I played Little League was over in the OL, and I have a fondness in my heart for all those kids, and then when I moved up to Loma Rica, my kids played at North Yuba, and I coached up there. So, just the organization, Little League in general, is just a great organization.
I bet you the grass is green. Right now it especially is. I don't know about your yard, but yeah, definitely. Hey, Sheriff, you mentioned something near and dear to your heart is, of course, Yuba County, and that's why you ran for sheriff. That's beside. But the reason for the visit this morning is something that, well, I can think back to the times when we had the floods, 86 and 97. 86, I was working at Yuba River Molding, and, we found out the flood there. Didn't have no so-called evacuation plan. That was just leave, basically. But that is what we're going to be talking about this morning. You've got some, Undersheriff's got some new technology to tell us about, kind of make that run a little bit more smoother.
Yes, sir. Yeah, something that we're really excited about. So, about October of last year, we entered into this relationship with this company called Zone Haven, and they produce some evacuation planning software that can be used in the event of a disaster or some kind of emergency. Yeah. And in layman's terms, basically, anytime we get a flood or a fire that comes through, we're kind of on the fly trying to determine geographical boundaries, what areas we're going to evacuate, what evacuation routes they're going to be taking, and we base that on geography and then, of course, the location of the disaster. Well, one thing that this software does, and through the last 6 months of really inputting and planning the development of it, is we preload all that information in there. So what we have is we've ended up with the county broken into about 150 different zones, very small zones that are based either on population or geography or a mixture of both. Mm-hmm. And within those zones, we identify any critical infrastructure that's in there. If we're up in fire country, if we got somewhere with explosives, we want to know about that. Mm-hmm. Any nursing homes, any non-ambulatory people that we would need to get out of that particular zone. And during the lull right now, and it's common, we don't have a disaster. When we input all that information in the unfortunate event, if that does come, we just have that right initially at our fingertips. And we will be able to, any one of the administration, any one of our deputies or supervisors would be able to pull up that particular zone, identify those areas, different evacuation routes that we can use, and immediately get that information out to the public through our Code Red system.
Oh, so this is worked in conjunction with the Code Red.
Yeah,
so this feeds the data, basically. This isn't something that the public has access to.
Absolutely, it is. So
okay.
There's two sides to it. There's the one side that's for us to help get that planning going and make a smooth event if we do come into an evacuation. But on the other side of it, there's the public-facing side, where that's going to be available to the public 24/7. All the time, and you can identify your residents, maybe your folks, some other family members, different zones within the county, and at any given point you can check the status of that zone. When we went through the North Complex fire last year, we were inundated, and granted, the public wanted to know what areas were evacuated, who could go back, which ones were under advisory versus a mandatory. This is a public-facing site where you'll be able to get that information all the time. We're also going to use it in conjunction. We've been working with PG&E, and we'll be able to map out the power shutoffs that come during the fire season, and you'll have information as to whether or not that's going to affect your zone. It's a really neat project, something that's near and dear to my heart as well, and I think it's going to make us more efficient and the community safer.
So you basically had to foresee possible disasters.
Correct, yeah.
Was the zombie apocalypse in one of them?
We're always preparing
We're
for
working
that.
on that one, John.
Okay.
And you know what
we
else?
joke, but there actually are plans in place for that.
You know what Zone Haven actually does also is they use historical data, geographical locations. So, when we have a fire, they can also input data like winds and try to project and forecast what the fire is going to do, but also the flood. We're looking at doing some inundation mapping for flooding, so that it's just going to give us a heads up, but it's also going to give a public. It has also layered in there possible evacuation routes, depending on the emergency and where it comes from, and it's just going to be a tremendous asset for us. And I know that the Undersheriff and our operations captain have been working very hard on this project with the folks at Zone Haven, with OES here in Yuba County, CAL FIRE. This is going to be a great project or a great piece of technology when it's up and running. Nick talks about the North Complex fire, and I think we still have maps where they're literally hand drawing, evacuation zones, so to speak, in the spur of the moment. Now this will be able to allow us, say, if we have some zones in the foothills, CAL FIRE will be on board and we'll all use the same zones, which is going to be huge going forward. A lot of people don't understand that, CAL FIRE, when they come into our county, they don't know our county, but now we'll be able to say, okay, we're evacuating zone 27, and they'll be able to go to the map and know exactly what we're talking about.
Is this used by other counties? Because we're talking about the evacuation of the Oroville Dam. When that happened, that was directly related to our area. The Paradise Fire, another one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
this company actually started up Silicon Valley area, and they initially were working with Napa, Sonoma during those fires that happened down there. Kind of, perfected their craft through that, and they approached us, and we're actually working right now with Nevada County, Yuba County, and Placer County is coming on board as well, and hopefully. I see this as being some really significant software that's going to help a lot of counties in the state, and it seems as time is passing, more counties are jumping on board, and ideally it'd be great to have all of our surrounding counties using the exact same system, just for that continuity.
Are you going to be able to share data with each other through that portal, I guess, if you're talking about?
Well,
now,
the other counties can go on and look at, our zones that adjoin or butt up to their counties, and, we'll be able to work with them because some of those, we have some portions of some zones that are, in Nevada County, for instance, that are very small areas of our county. So, having that ability to work together and say, hey, we are going to, we're going to be evacuating the zone abutting up to your county, then that tells them that they probably need to do the same.
Okay. I think it's a wonderful thing you're doing. Now, I want to ask you about the code red aspect of this. Basically, people will get a code red. Will there be a link to this, the information on it? Is that how it works, or is this something that they have to download, the public?
Yeah, so there will be a link, and it will be through our website, and we're working in conjunction with OES. This is a big project countywide. It's being hosted by OES and the Sheriff's Department, but we got Marysville Police Department, all of the fire departments and districts throughout the county, Wheatland Police Department, and of course CAL FIRE. But with the code red, that's going to give us the ability to quickly get the information out. Previously, if I wanted to issue a code red notification to the public in a certain area, I would contact our dispatch or OES, and we'd kind of have to hash out over the phone these it's going to go out, and that takes time. It takes time communicating. Sometimes communication,
especially if the communication's down.
Exactly. Yeah. With this now, it would merely be, as the sheriff said, zone 27, and everybody's on the same page. That information can get out immediately, not only on the interface through the social media and through our website, but also through the phone calls through through Zone Rec or
And of
Code
course, include us in that information so we can get that information out to the public. I'm sure there's a aspect of it in that as far as informing the media,
Yes, sir.
keeping them as take this route if you're going through 99 or going through Highway 70 and take a left and so on. Yeah, I think that would you're basically codifying all the information, all the data to one central point where you can have access to it to maximize at the time of getting people through there.
And you're going to see in the near future a campaign for pushing this off, and it's called Know Your Zone campaign, and people will be able to go on and and look at Zone Haven. It's a web-based. It's on
Yeah.
the web, so I don't think there's anything you have to download.
No.
So you just go on to the internet, and you'll have a link for Zone Haven, and you can go and find out what your zone is, where your house is, and it gives us the like Nick already touched on the critical infrastructure in those given zones. I mean, if we have a fire up in the hills and we're not aware of a propane storage facility or an explosive facility or a care home, those are things that we'll be ahead of and we'll be able to deal with much quicker.
Yeah. Once again, I think it's a wonderful thing you all are doing, and I think